Malcolm Turnbull, what a bitter, vindictive man. A hypocrite, and most dangerously for you, censorious. Now, if you think I'm being too hard on the former Liberal Prime Minister, just watch. This morning, Malcolm Turnbull went on the ABC, his favourite and friendliest broadcaster, to get the Murdoch media, and particularly this Sky News, your favourite plucky truth-telling network, to give him an almighty spray.
And this is a media company, a global media company whose business model is to promote division and hatred.
Oh, really? I mean, oh, what should we do today, boss? Oh, hatred and division. Fine, coming up. I mean, seriously. But note Turnbull's hypocrisy here. Hatred. Isn't that what you just heard from him? Hatred of us? And division, I mean, isn't he the one demonising not just us, but in reality the millions of Australians who make the judgment that they trust us and not our competitors to give them the news and to call it as it really is? Now, you really all sitting out there in viewerland saying, now what I want tonight is hatred and division. No. What has inspired, what seems to have inspired this latest attack from Turnbull is that some of us here at Sky, we're actually simply resisting the real division that's being stoked by Turnbull and others, which is, of course, this Labor plan to really divide Australians by race in our Constitution, to give some people more political rights because of their so-called race. Now, Turnbull is terrified, particularly that Sky News yesterday launched a channel devoted to discussing The Voice.
We know from what Sky's been running on their existing channel that they're promoting lies and creating anxiety and frankly terrifying people.
A few lies, hatred, and from Turnbull right there. In fact, I really am. I mean, I'm not spreading it. I am terrified this country is being asked to make racism official in our Constitution. Who wouldn't that terrify anyone of sense? You would have to think the same. And, of course, we all know this is just the start. As the Prime Minister has said, he even had printed on his T-shirt, The Voice is part of a package that includes a treaty, which, again, is going to split us into two racial groups. And from my observation, the most lies and misinformation actually come from the Yes campaign, which is trying to hide that agenda. The Prime Minister last week saying, no, this voice has nothing to do with the treaty. Before that saying, no, this voice isn't going to talk about anything more than just, direct Aboriginal policies right now affecting people. That's not what his amendment actually says. And it's sure not what the architects of The Voice say. They are talking already about reparations, for instance, treaty, the whole thing. And when it comes to spreading hatred and fear, again, you look at, Marshall Langton, for example, the key architect of The Voice, claiming that if you vote no, you'll let loose racists. Or the abuse broadcast by the ABC, of course, from Noel Pearson, another Voice supporter and architect. Abuse of Liberal leader Peter Dutton, for instance, for opposing The Voice.
And he doesn't mind chucking Indigenous Australians and the future of the country under the bus just so he can preserve his miserable political hide.
You don't hear that kind of abuse from anyone here on Sky News. And when it comes to spreading terror, hatred and division, I've got to ask about Turnbull's own record. I mean, this is the global warming extremist who accused members of the Liberal Party that he once led of being like terrorists for denying global warming was a catastrophe. This is the man who spread terror about global warming, claiming after bushfires 3 years ago that if ever Australians were under any illusion that the consequences of hotter and drier climate were not real, harsh and dangerous, those illusions have been shattered. These bushfires are utterly without precedent in our history, which isn't true, by the way. But that warning was promptly followed by 3 years of magnificent rain that's given us bumper crops and left the dams of our biggest city with more water than they've ever had for this time of year. And, of course, we're no fires, no bushfires. And when it comes to spreading hate, I've got to say the most hateful thing I've heard any ex-Prime Minister say was Turnbull's vile and almost deranged rant against his former Attorney General, Christian Porter. and again on the ABC. It wasn't Sky. Now you'll remember Christian Porter's career was ruined after the ABC, again not Sky, reported wild, abusive claims that he'd raped a woman. Let's call her Kate. Back when he was just 17. Porter strongly denied it. And Kate, who was deeply disturbed, made that rape claim years later after keeping contact with Porter and then killed herself. Not even her parents believed her. But the ABC pushed those claims and Turnbull pounced. He hated Porter, you see, because Porter had voted to dump Turnbull as Prime Minister. And on the ABC, Turnbull hinted 5 times that Porter had not only raped the girl, but might have known something about her death. Hint, hint.
Now, it's said that she suicided. Did she? What led to her? If she did suicide, if she did take her own life, what led to it? Why did she suicide? Why did she pursue this complaint for so long and then, just at a moment when you think she'd be encouraged, take her own life?
What a hateful smear. And again, not the kind of stuff that Sky would broadcast unquestioned. There's no evidence for his claim, by the way. South Australian coroner wouldn't touch it. And that brings us to the final point. Why would Turnbull be so vicious about us, about the Murdoch media? Why has he replaced the equally bitter ex-Prime Minister Labor's Kevin Rudd as head of Australians for a Murdoch Royal Commission to try to censor us or shut us down? In my opinion, it's just revenge. It's mortified pride. It's blaming others for his own incompetence. Turnbull was actually sacked by his colleagues for the simple reason that he'd lost every poll for nearly 2 years. But he couldn't accept that he was hopeless, and he blamed wicked Rupert Murdoch and his journalists instead for bringing him down. And he doesn't like it that the Murdoch papers and Sky still employ a few people like me to say, hang on, this climate crisis isn't one. These global warming schemes cause more pain than good. May I remind you of Turnbull's 2.0 snowy disaster? I mean, really. But again, Turnbull today couldn't stand us contradicting his scare.
This mob have been the single most influential, deniers of the reality of global warming in the English-speaking world.
So that's what it really is. I mean, how dare we criticise this vain and brittle man? We've got to be punished. We've got to be even silenced so that you never get to hear the other side of the argument. It's as simple as that and as sinister.